Before that, I do want to again thank the Middle East Initiative student and also Sarah for doing this work, but a lot of people also who are not in this room who worked very hard to make this report come into reality, whether the translators or the crafts or the editors, specifically Suzanne Severlid, who has worked extremely for long days and nights editing this report. I do want to thank all of these, and absolutely, I do want to thank the Swiss for a pretty applaudable and respectful risk by supporting Sana'a Center. I know it did come out as a surprise, and I hope not many people at least regret it. I know you support the work we do, so thank you for that. Let me say four quick points on policy dialogue. The way we look into this report at Sana'a Center is this is a chance for a policy dialogue. That level of conversation has not yet happened. Everyone has been hush-hushing to each other, whether the donors or the agencies or the local organizations. And we look to this as an opportunity, and we are committed to starting that conversation. This hopefully will be the kickoff, but we will do more than that. Second, this report also highlights something we always have been fighting, whether it comes with aid or it comes with economy or with politics, and it is the fact that there is no clear data from Yemen. And that is something it's important to try to invest more time and on that work, which hopefully more research in that decision. Three, and I want to make this very clear to those specifically on Zoom, especially all the aid workers from across the world and in Yemen or in different capitals who are working hard with the best possible intentions to try to make things better in Yemen and to help the Yemeni people. I know there are a lot of these people across Yemen and across the globe, and I know some of them personally. And I do want to say there is nothing and no much can ever honor their efforts, except by saying we will pass this forward. However, and to all of these people, we're not after you. But to countries who think that they can get away with wars and armed deals by sending some aid every now and then, we will not let you get away with that narrative. We will stand as much as we can with that. There is only one solution in Yemen. And that solution means end this war and stop being part of it. You cannot send the baskets of foods and send at the same time hundreds of billions of dollars of guns worth into a country. And you cannot do that and possibly expect to go to bed feeling better about yourself and being able to hug your children. You're a criminal when you do that, just like anyone who kills in the ground. There is no difference. To those who divert aid, there is only one thing that upsets me from those who, more than those who divert aid, it's those who also allow it to happen or who complicit with it. To those and to all of those who divert aid in the ground, you have the research, the editorial, the researchers, and my word that we will go after you and we will find you. And we will do what we are able always to do, research and publish you, wherever you are in the world. It is beyond upsetting as a Yemeni to understand and to notice that there are people who are angry, there are people who are hungry, and there are people who are complicit, misusing this aid, whether in the ground or by bad decision-making happening all across. What to do about it? That's my fourth point, what we ask the humanitarians to do. Same thing we did when we published this report, which was going through months and months and weeks and days of one simple question, which is, are we doing more harm than good? That's not a lot to ask the aid organizations to think. That's the most basic rule of humanitarian aid. That is something we asked them when we published and worked in this report. Our main question has always been, are we giving donors a pass? Are we giving international responsibility a pass? The answer is a very big and clear no. That is not the plan, and those who wants to use it for that reason, they are wrong. That's what we ask and what we hope NGOs will think of, and the UN agencies overall, is to think more of the question we had to go through. Are we doing more harm than good? To their defense, I also want to make my last and fifth point, which is today Sana'a has one embassy. That's called the Iranian embassy. There is no other international diplomats in Sana'a or embassies. The absence of donors in Sana'a and the isolation of that in the ground have left everyone, not just aid organizations, hostage to the Houthis, a criminal and a brutal attitude and behaviors. And that goes in a different levels across Yemen in a different one. It is unbelievable today that there are a lot of countries who send a lot of money to Yemen and just expect things to be fixed or expect that to be worked. That is something we definitely can do better. Now, let me go back to your question, Emmanuel, and I'll try to end that in 30 seconds. And probably the second one I feel I have already answered, and should we start this? The question is again, or the answer is again, a hell no. We need to think of how we make this framework better. That's one way. The other most important thing is aid organizations or donors or all type of development aid. There is nothing that can replace state institutions and domestic local mechanisms. Whether donors and aid organizations are in the business of weakening and replacing the Yemeni state institutions is their call. But they should not do that, and rather, on the long term, there is no one who should be more in a hurry or on a patient more than the humanitarian worker. Because in an ideal world, they will actually have no jobs on the long term. And we should never forget that, ever, in the longer term of thinking. What is the problem with that narrative? I think it goes back to a lot of things in a way. I don't want to speak much how much it humiliates the Yemenis, but also it's an easy narrative that is presented as a victim. But beyond that, I think what happens with that, and I will end with this small example I know from Nicholas Christoph, very famous New York Times correspondent. I once emailed him, there was a trip to Yemen. I said, do you want to go to Yemen? There is a chance for journalists. And I still have that email on my email. And he responded back, he's like, oh, if it's to areas where there are starving kids, yes, I will go. The paper and myself, and I'm saying this on the record, and I know people are watching globally. He said that literally, if there are starving kids, I will go and take photos of that. The entire world, even media, was looking for a story of a very specific framing of a hungry kid from Yemen. That's the worldview they had about Yemen, and that's the worldview everyone wanted to approve. And there is a problem with that. And I will end there. It's Yemen crisis is not a haram crisis. Yemen crisis is back off crisis. It's not something happened, natural disaster, and something happened and these people went into hunger. Yemen crisis is there because there are countries and there are domestic, regional, and international players who decided to launch a war in Yemen and continue to do so. And therefore, that's what I find the worst framing about this kind of haram framing of the Yemen narrative. And I think that's probably what this overall framing does to the Yemeni war in overall. I'll come back if there is any questions later on, but thank you again, Sarah, for all the good work, and over to you back, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Thanks.